Appearance on Dion's Daily Dose does not imply endorsement from or by any candidate or guest. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by Dion Bergeron or Dion's Daily Dose are his own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of any guest. Material and information presented is for general information purposes only. The Dion's Daily Dose name in all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owners, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Dion's Daily Dose. Today's Wednesday, May 20th. So we're going to talk about this debate tomorrow night, right? So we got a list of all the potential subjects, and there's a lot. So there's a lot of prep to do. This is probably not going to be a super long video. So Liz is jacked up on, well, not yet, but she will be. Hey, Dave, thanks for joining us. Bang energy drinks. I've talked before about how interesting she gets when she's jacked up on Bang.
It's a lot of it's a lot of stuff.
So I'm going to talk about tiptoe politics a little bit. And what I consider tiptoe politics is that careful pre-primary policy, right? A lot of the parties, at least LaPorte County for sure, has a policy where the party itself will not endorse a candidate before the primary. Now, I know that there are those that wish it was different, and I get it. I'd love to get some endorsements. Let's be honest, it'd be nice. I have plenty of endorsements from regular people. Let's be clear about that. But as far as elected officials go, Connie has endorsed me. She's the Republican chair for Hammond. But what it comes down to is many of these people will not endorse someone before the primary, because what it comes down to in their mind, and they're not wrong, is by giving this endorsement and the person that they endorsed loses, right? Then they have two choices. They can go, okay, so yeah, this person wasn't my first choice, but they're still good. Or they can admit, maybe I shouldn't have endorsed them that early. There are not many places that are going to, at least as far as official party people go, that are going to endorse someone before the primary. And I'm elected by the voter, you, not politicians, not people that are serving in office, your decision in the voting booth. So that's who I talk to. I'm not going to be calling these people and begging them to endorse me. I have written some letters. I've said, hey, check me out. I have communicated with many of our elected officials and told them, hey, I'd like you to look at my website, look at my platform, get to know me. But I'm not going to beg anybody for anything other than you. Please vote for me. But I'm not going to beg people for endorsements. I'm not going to put myself out there, because number one, what it comes down to is every single one of these politicians, when they, at least I've seen, right, when they give their endorsement out there, generally they expect something. When you get elected, at some point they're going to come to you and they're going to go, hey, you remember that endorsement I gave you? What are you going to do for me? And my answer to all these people is exactly the same that I would do for every other constituent. Represent you in Congress. If there's a way that I can help you with a federal agency, if there's a way that I can help doing exactly what I would do for anyone else, I will do that. And that's one reason why I think I'm not as popular in the party as a couple of other candidates are, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. Again, it's not the Republican, it's you. I want to share a couple of things with you today. There are some very interesting things going on right now. Let me get the screen shared. Hey, Jack, good to see you. He's on his way to Knox right now. So let me get to it here. Is it this one? Yep, here it is. Okay. So first of all, we are going to talk about our own governor, Governor Holcomb. Now, I am not one of those people that believes that every single person, because I'm a Republican, every single person in the Republican Party is perfect. I don't think that way. I will call out what I consider shady connections. I don't care who's involved. So let's look at this. Let's get into it. This was actually reported yesterday by Chicks on the Right. Holcomb received a $50,000 donation from Optum Health weeks before the state awarded a $17.9 million contract. According to an investigative report from WANE TV in northern Indiana, an executive with Optum Health made a generous $50,000 donation to Governor Eric Holcomb just weeks before the state fast tracked a $17.9 million deal with Optum to test for COVID-19 statewide. My goodness, what a coinky dink, right? Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb says he played no role. I think they mean in the state's choice. This meme, yeah. On March 4th, which for those of you listening, the meme says, sure, whatever. On March 4th, Grant Verstendig made a $50,000 contribution to the Eric Holcomb for Indiana campaign. Verstendig of Virginia is listed as the chief digital officer on Optum's website. On April 28th, the state announced Optum has been selected without other proposals to implement the tests. I had no involvement in selecting that, Holcomb said at today's press conference. He then asked Dr. Christina Bach, state health commissioner, to provide more details. The governor was not engaged with that at all, Bach said on TV. The Chicks on the Right and producer Rob break down additional details about the deal in today's speed round. I will gladly give you the link for this so that you can check it out when you get a chance. Now, we turn right around and guess what? Right next door in Illinois, Illinois governor's family firm owns stake in companies involved in coronavirus testing. Republicans in Illinois are crying foul that Governor J.B. Pritzker could be financially benefiting from the coronavirus pandemic following reports that his family's investment firm has a stake in two companies doing tests for the contagion. Illinois GOP chairman Tim Schneider said in a statement to Fox News that the Pritzker Group, the family firm run by the governor's brothers, quote, controls the companies that are making millions off the pandemic, and called on the Illinois to divest any interest he had with the firm. Let's be clear, Governor Pritzker and his family are clearly profiting off the COVID-19 crisis, and it's appalling, Schneider said. The Pritzker Group controls the companies that are making millions off the pandemic, and the governor stands to make huge profits. The two companies in question are Path Group, an anatomic, clinical, and molecular pathology company that Pritzker's private capital firm invested in, and Q Health, a healthcare technology company that received funding from Pritzker's venture capital firm. Both companies have recently announced either the development of tests or plans to develop tests to detect COVID-19. This comes as Pritzker's administration pushes to expand testing as part of the state's phased reopening plan, etc., etc. Here is the link for that. Now, Here's my issue in all of these little deals, right? We have a situation where we see politicians that are at least visually, right? It looks like benefiting from certain deals that are made. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about the backroom deals, the the political machine that drives this country. Drain the swamp. President Trump has talked about that before many, many, many times. Uh, I don't know if you've seen it. I sent it out earlier. There is a massive investigation that is called for to be opened by the Senate into Hunter Biden's little connections. There's the video from yesterday showing the recordings of Joe Biden and the former president of Ukraine, Poroshenko. Uh, yeah, this is the kind of thing that we have to start electing regular people. These political elites, they all know each other. They're all involved. There's deals upon deals, and $50,000 right before, suddenly appearing as a donation, and it's just one thing after another. And this is my concern for Northwest Indiana. I we don't need we don't need more political elites. We need regular people. We need people that don't have ties to the party, that aren't controlled by the party in some cases. That's look. When I had Ralph on here before, the former CEO and current steel mill worker, he asked me. He said, "Which of the if you had to pick one of the people on the left to endorse, right? Who would it be?" And I said, "Well, based on the information that I had at the time, probably Mervan, just because he has done a lot of good. He's a North Township trustee. He's involved in actually helping people. But the one negative that I saw at the time, and it still applies even more now, I would say, is if you're going to come out and endorse somebody, which he did, he's like, yeah, I can't wait to vote for Joe Biden for president, blah, 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 blah. Those weren't his exact words. I'm paraphrasing. But essentially, I back Joe. Uh, he started taking fire for that on his campaign page, and he quickly deleted it, and then kind of tried to walk his comments back a little bit, saying, I'm going to support whoever the Democratic nominee is because I'm a Democrat. Now, this tells me, at least to me, that he's going to vote party line. Now, this concerns me on many levels. We know McDermott's going to vote party line, right? McDermott went. That's the two big ones on the left. We've got McDermott and Mervan. That's the signs you see everywhere, everywhere, especially for McDermott. Oh my God, I am so tired of seeing the name McDermott everywhere. Just anyway, we know that they're going to vote straight party line, however they're told. McDermott can't wait to be Nancy Pelosi's soldier. He's going to do what he's told. We need someone who's going to vote what's best for Northwest Indiana. We need someone who's going to get in there, who's going to stand up, and who's going to use their voice, who's going to call attention to the issues. And that's what I did when the guy on the left, Ryan Farrar, called for the death of conservatives, wishing death upon my son, my in-laws. There are conservatives in my family as well that voted for the president, right? People that wish death on people should be condemned, regardless of party. I don't want people to die, even if you disagree with me politically. It was silence from everyone else, the left and the right. So there's another thing that I want to show you, and this is directly related to that. Uh, Once again, we have someone on the left who is wishing death on people. Let me show you this story. This is thetruthaboutguns.com. Pennsylvania doctor and school board threatens to shoot anyone not wearing a mask. Story from yesterday, the 19th. Dr. Jennifer Rager-K, must have missed the part of her medical school training in which they covered the Hippocratic Oath and the doctor's duty to first do no harm. The Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania area school board member took to a private Facebook group recently and vowed to take deadly aim at anyone who approaches her without wearing a face mask. From PennLive.com, Dr. Jennifer Rager-K posted the comment in reaction to a picture of anti-lockdown protesters last week in Harrisburg, many of whom are not wearing masks. She wrote, quote, "I find it interesting that the largest group of the participants in the anti-lockdown protest and refusing to wear masks in public as they see it as What? Hold on. I find it interesting that the largest group of the participants in the anti-lockdown protest and refusing to wear masks in public as they see it as a violation of their constitutional rights are among those against a form of gun regulations. As a concerned carry permitted gun holder, if you refuse to wear a mask and try to come within 6 feet of me or my family, I will exercise the same constitutional rights to shoot you." End quote. Private discussion or not, just about everything on a social media site, the good doctor's intemperate threat was shared, and locals aren't amused. Some have called for her to resign from the school board. In response to the kerfuffle, which is a word I love, the raging Rager-K, a self-described lay minister, issued a standard non-apology apology. The medical doctor, who last year ran unsuccessfully as a Democrat for the state House seat that became vacant when Republican Fred Keller was elected to Congress on Monday, issued this statement, and I quote, "I would like to publicly apologize to anyone offended by my recent post regarding the hypocrisy of those who refuse to wear face masks yet walk around openly carrying guns." It gets better. Dr. Rager-K then sought to define the threat of death or bodily harm down, offering this justification for vowing to hurt anyone who could potentially infect her or her loved ones with the coronavirus. Quote, "I am in a profession where the threat of someone approaching me not wearing a mask while in the midst of a pandemic is equivalent to the threat against my life, just as it would be if they approached me with their gun drawn and pointed at me." A jury of her peers would no doubt see it that way in a court of law if she ever made good on her promise. But wait, she wasn't finished rationalizing her death threat. Quote, "Bioterrorism is, however, a real threat, and refusal to prevent and or the intentional release or dissemination of biological agents by not wearing a mask during a global pandemic is a clear example. I am sorry if my words were offensive or derogatory in any way. My concern and compassion for human life got the best of me." It was her unremitting compassion for human life that caused her to threaten others, right? Dr. Rager-K would like the local community to know that she made the threat against approaching strangers with all due care and affection. Quote, "My post was described as hateful, but hateful suggests a lack of love. And to me, lack of love is demonstrated by choosing to wear a mask out of love for those you encounter." Rager-K says she has no plans to resign from the local school board. Oh yeah, Dave. I agree with you. Look, Here's what it comes down to, ladies and gentlemen. There are people that are mentally ill. Now, whether she is or not, I don't know. She certainly acts like it, but we have a situation where we have people to the left of center, right? Progressives, Democrats, whatever, that are wishing harm on people. Let's be very, very clear here. They make no bones about it. They say it. They say it right out there. They tell you, you know, uh, we deserve a representative for the first district that's going to stand up to that. That's going to say, uh, yeah, you're a few fries short of a Happy Meal or whatever the term may be. You don't wish harm on people just because they believe something different than you. I think she would have a very hard time if she carried through on her threat. I think she would have a very, very difficult time convincing a jury that someone not putting a mask on represented an imminent threat to her, right? Because that's what's required. Even in Indiana, who in general, Indiana, we're pretty lucky here when it comes to our Second Amendment rights. Is it perfect? Of course not. I don't believe we should have to pay to exercise a constitutionally protected right, but we're working on that, right? We have to prove, right, that if we were, let's say we were to act to defend ourselves, we have to prove that we had a reasonable fear of ourselves or someone else, right? Reasonable fear that failure to act would put someone in danger. It's a little more complicated than that. I'd be happy to link articles and whatnot, but let me give you the link for this real quick. There's something else that I wanted to talk about really quickly. As I said, I got a lot of prep to do, so this isn't going to be a very long video. We After the debate, I'll show you the list. Right, I don't know which topics they're gonna pick, but they gave us a list of like 20 topics, right, that they're gonna choose some out of. So, man, and I can't get too much into the stuff on that because I don't want to give obviously my opponents, any ideas or ammunition or anything like that. But there's a lot, and so it could be anything on this list. We got to really, really get into it and learn. Yeah, I mean, who knows? They might pick something off the list, although I hope they don't do that because there's enough there as it is. But I wanna tell you that I'm really glad they're doing this because I can talk to you all day long, but you don't see me, other than when I had Delano on the show, you don't see me in a group, right? Because when we go to Congress, whomever wins this election, debate's going to be part of it because we're going to have to convince, in many, many cases, people on the left why whatever legislation we're voting for or against is important, right? Or does not need to be voted yes on, but is a bad idea. We're going to have to be able to get that idea across. And if we don't choose someone who is strong in that, we're not going to have the voice that we need. Look, Pete Visclosky was the elected representative for Northwest Indiana for 35 years, all right? Since 1985, 36 years now. Pete, I think, could have had a much stronger voice in Congress. He could have stood up. He could have done a lot more, in my opinion. But to many people in the unions, Pete was a friend. That's what I've heard over and over. So it's not my intention to badmouth or bash Pete Visclosky, but I will tell you, I think he could have said more. I think he could have done more for the region. If elected to this position, I absolutely will not be silent. For you, for your values, for my family, if people wish harm call for harm the way some of these people have actually called for harm on people, I'm not going to stay silent. I'm going to make a press release. I'm going to address the cameras. I'm going to tell them that that behavior is unacceptable, right? I really think that's what we need. We need someone who needs to be less worried about fallout, less worried about potential negative connotations, and we need someone who's real, and we need someone who's honest, and we need someone who's not going to use this position as a feather in their cap to move up the political ladder. Someone who's really doing this because they want to help. And look, I really believe that I can do some good in this position. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. Do you know how much hassle all this stuff is? There are people who, and I'm not whining about the process. I'm just saying there are people that politics is what they do, right? They get into it for whatever reason. Some people I think have honest and good intentions when they initially get into it, but every moment of every day when you run for office, you have something to do, whether it's answer emails, talk to your potential voters or current constituents, uh, phone calls, emails, surveys, this, that. And I knew, right? I knew all this stuff was part of doing it when I started doing it. But I wouldn't do this if I didn't think I could be an effective representative. I'm certainly not doing it to move up, right? As Dave says, you've got to be able to debate to get on the correct committees. Yeah, and that's the other thing. You've seen these congressional hearings, right? We need an effective voice. Someone that on the correct committee, whether it's an oversight committee, whether it's a some type of judiciary, we need someone that can communicate effectively and tells people, look, here's the way it is. They don't give you a lot of time. So you have a limited amount of time. Now, I will say, if I had to point out one of my flaws, it's that I can be a little verbose. My wife says I pontificate. I can talk a lot. I will work on that because limited time is a very big factor, right? Dave agrees that for the number of years he was there, he got very little done for us. And we're talking about Visclosky here, and there are candidates that are going to bash him and are going to talk about the shady this and sketchy that. I'm not, and the main reason that I'm not is not because I don't have anything negative to say, because I could figure something negative out. It's not about that. I will tell you that I wholeheartedly agree that for the seniority that Visclosky had by the time he was there, now, right? Even going back 10 years, right? You've been in Congress for 16 years, 10 years, 12 years, and still very, very little got accomplished from Northwest Indiana. That's what I'm focusing on. It took Donald Trump and his administration to enact tariffs because we had substandard steel being dumped in our country, and getting a little off track with that. I will tell you this. I don't know yet which of the topics will be on the will be chosen out of the big list we got, but there are some that are very, very interesting. There are some of the topics. Oh yeah, and they were accepting questions from the audience for a little bit. I don't know if they still are. Didn't they? They stopped. Yeah, it could be anything. But yeah, awesome. Because I choose well. What can I say? Yeah. So it just, and it's frustrating dealing with politics. Back to the beginning a little bit, the tiptoe politics, because you get these people that are like, well, I would endorse you, but I'm going to wait till after the primary. I would endorse you, but and look, I get it. What if you're wrong? what if I don't get elected, right? What if I don't make it to the general? What if I get beaten by someone else? Then you have to say, with egg on your face, well, this person's good too, right? Personally, I'd love to see all the endorsements held off until post primary. Me, personally, but I know that's, it's part of the game. There's yeah, there are people who have given endorsements and then changed their mind before the primary even gets here. Uh, there's so much to this. Uh, oh yeah, Steve, it's nice to be educated about local politics. I agree wholeheartedly with you there. There is we need a good unbiased source for politicians and uh, events happening right in Northwest Indiana, and we need more educated voters. We really, really do need more educated voters, because a short clip, right, of someone telling you what they think doesn't do justice. Someone, a prepared press release, a short little ad on TV. That's one thing I will say. Love him or hate him. That's one thing I'll say about Donald Trump is he leaves no question where he stands on various issues, right? Regardless of the political fallout, he doesn't care how the media is going to chop it up and use it. And let me be very clear. I am no Donald Trump. Okay. I am not. Number one, I'm not a multi-billionaire real estate developer. But I am very, very clear about where I stand on certain things and my beliefs in them. And there's no ambiguity with me. I believe. I think that I speak clearly and concisely, and I think that that's important. I think it's going to be really important when it comes to running against whomever wins on the left, because no matter who it is, our options don't look good, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be very real here. If any of these people end up becoming our next congressman on the left, I'm talking about, it's not going to be good for us, because they're going to vote with these policies, right? A new $3 trillion package that does very, very little to actually address the pandemic. That's what it was supposed to be about. And once again, we have, a massive wish list. Of course, they're going to vote for that because their masters tell them to.
I saw something that said that anytime you add something that you want to a bill that's designed to help, you're no different than a looter.
Yeah. Stephen says, as long as you stick to the Constitution and Bill of Rights, you'll have my support, as well as Spencer. I've heard negative things about McDermott and Mervan. Yeah. As I've said before, I think that the Constitution of the United States is one of the most revolutionary and fundamental documents to this country. Without it, we certainly would be a tiny shadow of where we are. The republic it created has become one of the most amazing countries. To me, the most amazing, but one of the most powerful, one of the greatest country on the face of the earth, right? What other country can a guy who was born, whether I win or not, right? I was born southern Louisiana, south of New Orleans. My mom and dad were not together. They divorced shortly after I was born, because that's what happened. And I grew up very, very poor. My grandfather paid for me to go to a the high end school in Mobile, Alabama. But when we moved from Alabama, that didn't happen anymore. I started going to public school. But and I was the poor kid going. I talked about that on Mother's Day, or I don't know. Was it Mother's Day or was it a different day that I talked about? Yeah, my grandmother had this car that the paint was peeling off. Anyway, no, that was like a couple days ago. It was a couple days ago. Anyway, where else can someone like that grow up, right? Get their life straightened out, drive across 48 of the 50 states, work at a maximum security prison, and then run for office to represent 700,000 people, the population of the first district, over 700,000. Is this an amazing country or what? We finally have a president. Again, doesn't matter how you feel about him. We have a president that says what's on his mind, that will call the fake news to task. I love this country. Kelly says we need representatives at all levels that are loyal to the people and the Constitution over the party and party goals. Yes, absolutely. And that is my issue with some of the candidates that are running, right? On both sides. I'm not going to mention any names, but there are representatives, candidates that, if elected, I believe will do what the party tells them to do. That will go, okay, I'll vote for that. Even though it may not be the best thing for us. We desperately need people, not just here, but all across this nation that are going to stand up, that are going to vote for the Constitution and the people. We have to vote for what's best for us. You know, it's a lot of times you see these candidates and in many cases elected officials that'll get up and they'll talk a great game. They'll talk about how they, are there for the people and they're one of you, and they start voting for things that are not in the best interest of the people of their district. And I look at that and I'm like, okay, so where does your loyalty lie exactly? What are you there for? And just like we saw at the beginning of the show, I'm going to call out people on both sides. We've got two governors, right? Illinois and Indiana, that oddly enough, both seem to have interesting connections. I'll tell you, I am very, very, very torn this election when it comes to the governor. Governor Holcomb is the only official on the ticket now. I met him for a very brief moment down at Congress of Counties. We took, a picture together, and that was it. I really wanted to talk to him at length about the whole refugee situation, right? Where he had accepted more refugees. I wanted to find out why. Explain it to me. Tell me why we're taking more refugees in Indiana when your number one goal, your number one priority should be the people of the state. I didn't get that opportunity. Then he was supposed to come to the the LaPorte County Lincoln Day dinner, and then of course because of the virus, that was canceled. So I was really hoping, of course, that was on the same night as the debate, but I was going to send my wife to the Lincoln Day dinner, so that she could talk to him and be like, "Hey, what's up?" But he wasn't talking to anybody at the Congress of Counties, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean we got. Dave says, "Is it time to add more members to the House?" I mean, maybe. Is it something that we should do? And let me ask you this. How do you guys feel, guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, how do you feel about the 17th, I believe it's the 17th Amendment, where the senators are chosen by the people versus the state, the legislators at the state level. I've looked at that, and I got to admit on that I'm torn as well, because 6 years is a long time for someone to be elected to, and they have to appeal to the voters, right? Instead of appealing to the state. It's an interesting situation. Stephen says, I'm upset with these establishment Republicans. Yes, they lack a spine, don't back President Trump. Some of them voted to invade our internet privacy, and it seems like they are Dems with an R attached to their names. Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. I'm glad you brought that up. I meant to talk about that before. How is that even remotely okay? We have people running for this position and others that don't believe in the Constitution, right? Now, some of these people I really thought would vote differently than what they did. I was surprised by some of the names on the list of ayes, right? Of yes. I am a firm believer in innocent until proven guilty. It is a fundamental aspect of our society. It is a fundamental right, protected right that we have, and it's under attack. It really is. I really want representatives at all levels that are going to stand up and hold the Constitution sacred, right? That are going to represent what's in that document. Because if it wasn't for the Constitution, if we were a direct democracy, like some of these people elected to actual powerful positions seem to believe, if we were a direct democracy, then mob rule would be the law of the land, and we would have had a lot of issues a long time ago. We are a constitutional republic for a reason, because the people who wrote the original, the founding fathers, people who wrote the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, understood that a mob of people should not rule, that they should get together, pick someone that represented them, right? That was, perhaps a little more articulate, perhaps a little more able to get ideas across, but in general, one of them. And this is why I'm actually doing, I was reached out to by the Post Tribune, and they're doing a candidate feature, kind of like NWI Times did, where they want you to write something up. And I'm going down through it, and one of the questions that is on it, actually, let me give it to you here. It wants to know, previous political experience, right? Do you have any previous political experience? Now, in my case, no. Oh no, I don't have any previous political experience, and I personally see that as a good thing. I think it's a very good thing, because our system has become so clogged with these backroom deals, these slap on the back, under the cover of midnight, money gets transferred from here to there. There's way too much of that. I think we need fresh blood. I think we need, fresh people who are just like you and me to get up in there and say, I don't know, ain't gonna happen, Captain, not on this ship. So Kenneth says, look into McKinney-Vento Act. Okay, I'll have to look that up. I don't know what that is, but I'll look it up. Dave says, in the old days, the Senate was bought and paid for by the power brokers in the state. Yeah, so that's the other thing, and that's why I believe that the 17th Amendment was established. So here's the issue, though, is the senators, when they get to Washington, they don't really, do you believe that they represent still the interests of the state itself? Or do you think they're kind of part of the system now? Uh, not sure. I'm not saying either way. I'm just curious. I think it's worth exploring, right? I think many things are worth exploring. That's one thing that I will say, regardless of which side of the aisle you sit on or come from. We're starting to see more people that are willing to have a conversation, right? Which is so important. We are not able to affect any real change in this country unless we have people that are willing to talk without screaming at each other, without making threats against each other. Of course, there are those on the extreme, right, that just refuse to have any rational discussions whatsoever, and it's just, I think often it's Karen, and what's the male version of that, of a Karen? Chad. Yeah. Uh, anyway, Steven says I'm not happy with Holcomb. I'll be voting for Donald Rainwater this fall. My first time voting third party. So there are people that have reached out to me and have said, how could you have a libertarian on your show? You're supposed to be a Republican. Look, I am a Republican, right? I am a constitutional Republican. I don't have anything against any other party, right? Even the Libertarian Party. And what's wrong with a free exchange of ideas? What's wrong with having someone who represents perhaps a slightly different mindset than what you have and having a discussion with them? It's the only way we're going to get anything done. It's the only way we're going to get anything accomplished. It's so easy. It really is. It's so easy to go into that voting booth and to give no thought and to just click straight ticket, right? D or R, and go, there, I did my civic duty. Did you, though? Did you really? Because on both sides, right, there are people that run under the banner of Republican or Democrat who do not represent the ideals of that party, that especially in Republicans' case, the rhinos. They get into office, and for those of you not familiar, rhino, RINO, is Republican in name only. My son asked me the other day if it had anything to do with horns, and anyway, the point is, I think it's really important that we do our due diligence on candidates. We look into them before we give them the most precious thing I believe that we have, right, to freely give away, which is our vote. These people prey on us. They prey on us by appealing to the things that we think are important. They tell us what they think we want to hear. Yeah, so Kelly, you're absolutely right. She says, he says, downfall of politics and political discussion, I believe, all started with the no politics at the dinner table belief. If we can learn to discuss with our family and friends, how will we ever solve any differences with anyone? Can't, is what it says. Yeah. If we can't talk to family and friends, how are we going to talk to regular people or people in power on the other side of the aisle? If we can't talk to our friends, to our spouses, to our children, to our parents about politics and religion to a lesser degree, but politics especially, because your religious beliefs isn't really going to affect the direction of the country as far as, casting your vote goes, but politics are. And the only way to make that happen, the only way to start having that discussion and actually start to get things accomplished is by breaking that barrier, right? And there are ways that you can talk to people from the opposite side that have very, very different beliefs than you do. But let me give you an example, right? So this nut job, sorry, this guy uh, on the left, Ryan Farrar, who wants people like me who voted for President Trump to die. Um, yeah, he also told me to pour myself a tall glass of bleach. Not sure where that comes from, but I said very clearly, you have the absolute right to say those things. I'm going to condemn them because I don't wish harm on anyone, even you. But instead of engaging in an actual discussion with me, what he did was he made some about, whatever, and then he blocked me. Now, I haven't blocked anyone on Facebook or Twitter on my campaign account, and my understanding is you can't because they're a constituent and it goes if you're using it as a communications platform, but your private account's a different story, but your campaign account you can't block people. Uh, but the point is, I've noticed that seems to be a theme for people who wish harm on people because they believe differently, for people that are angry with conservatives, especially. Uh, they don't want to have a real discussion. They want to tell you what's on their mind and then shut down the conversation. I think that has been the single biggest issue with getting these people to understand that they're being lied to by the mainstream media. We see it every day. And I really don't know if people aren't going to engage in a real conversation, then. Oh, right. Dave points out that Farrar then always says he was joking and we didn't get his humor, right? In quotes. Uh, let's see. We got a big post. Okay, so Ken says he called AG Bar's hotline. They took his information and told him to call Curtis Hill because child court has been infringing on my rights because of this virus. Okay, they're taking stimulus checks for back payment. They can't do that. Oh, yeah. So look, they already declared whether you agree or hold on, there's something else. Anything is infringing on your rights because of this virus, you should call Indiana AG. Your kids can't play at the playground and the basketball hoops are down. You should call. Your bank is closing early, etc. Yeah, so the stimulus check, if you owe back child support, they're going to take it, or at least however much you owe. I agree or disagree is irrelevant. They stated that from the beginning. There were many banks actually that were actually putting holds on accounts because of other owed debt. Uh, this money was supposed to help us at least for a short time to get through. Uh, make whatever calls you can. I child support is a very, very touchy subject for many people. It is it's a hand grenade, man. I mean, it really is. Uh, there are people that get it. There are people that should be paying it. There are people that aren't paying it that should. Yeah, we're very familiar with the people that should be paying it that aren't. Let's just say that. It is what it is. Dave says he's still blocked by Farrar. Steven says I can never vote Democrat again. It seems like they shifted too far left. I agree with moderate Dems though. Here's the thing: moderate Democrats used to be able to have a discussion. We used to be able to sit down and talk, right? I have moderate Dems in my family. Farrar put out a tweet that he's the only candidate in this entire race that has said that he's against for-profit prison. So I tweeted him back. I said, actually, yeah. So Farrar, my wife just informed me that Farrar put out a tweet that he is the only candidate in the race that is against for-profit prisons. Let me be very clear. I worked at a maximum security prison that had aspects of it privatized. The only reason why ISP, at least this is what I was told by administration, by other fellow CEOs, the only reason why Indiana State Prison was not already completely privatized was because they had death row there. They weren't able to privatize that. But, you know, downstate, many of those facilities have been privatized, and they were trying to do it up there, but they weren't able to. Privatization, in my opinion, is a dangerous, dangerous road to go down. Shannon, hey, good to see you. That's unfortunately his tweet is not accurate, because the funny thing is he was actually at a forum in Chesterton at the high school where I specifically said that for-profit prisons, you know, were bad and privatization was not a good thing. Look, I understand that we have to come to terms with the fact that we are spending insane amounts of money on housing people in our prisons, on taking care of them. There are better ways that we can cut costs. There are better ways that we can take care of these people like human beings. The Republican, I won't say talking points, but the Republican platform is very, you know, tough on crime, pro law enforcement, and I think we should be tough on crime. Absolutely. I'm very pro law enforcement. I'm former law enforcement. I have family that are police officers, you know, deputy sheriffs, that have worked as first responders and all that. But we have to look at the reality of the situation. And the reality of the situation is that privatized correctional centers, prisons, stuff like that, creates an incentive in many cases for people to be sent there, whether it's by them. And look, we've seen the pay for play schemes of judges that have been sending people to these prisons, and they end up getting a little extra money out of it. It creates too many negative possibilities. It reduces the standard of care in almost all cases. It's just not something that I, having seen it firsthand, can agree with. It's and I'm talking about the privatization of the correctional facilities. I support law enforcement, of course, but I'll also call out somebody when I believe that something's done wrong. Did you guys see the story? Hold on. I posted about it, but let me show you this. Oh, wrong browser. Real quick. I'm going to wrap it up, but I did want to show you this. This is it's just insanity. Watch. Hold on. Let's see here. It was from the, I think, or was it NWI Times? Hold on. This guy got 9 years shaved off of his sentence. Hold on. Here it is. Okay. So this actually came out yesterday. The story did. And there's certain things that I'm not going to be able to say, but I'm going to show you so that you can see it if you didn't see the story. Because look, censorship is everywhere, which is another thing. I believe in free speech. You should be able to say whatever you want. Former Michigan City cop convicted of a horrible crime gets 9 years cut from prison term, right? Dan Carden was the reporter on this, and this was yesterday. Thomas Jackson was the name. The Indiana Supreme Court has shaved 9 years off the prison term of a former Michigan City police officer convicted in 2018 of a horrible crime against a woman with, look at this, guys, intellectual disabilities. This is the part that infuriates me the most. So, quick summary, he was sentenced last year by Judge Michael Bergerson to 3 consecutive 12-year terms for a total of 36 years in prison, right? In an unsigned 4-1 opinion, the state's high court determined Tuesday that the sentence is inappropriate for a man with no prior criminal record and a low risk to reoffend. Here's the point, right? So they took it down to 27 years. Let me get down here. So here's the initial case. Records show that Jackson, a 27-year-old police officer, was introduced to the woman at a social gathering by her parents. They later approved Jackson's request to take her out for things like ice cream and walks in the park. I imagine that the parents thought he was just being nice because he was discovered in a park, right, in Westville. And here's the disturbing part of this story. Not that all of that wasn't horrible enough, but based on testimony, the woman has the mental capacity of an 8-year-old and lacks the ability to consent to anything. She's essentially an 8-year-old. This is horrible. It's absolutely horrible. When someone has the mental capacity of an 8-year-old, that's not something that is hard. It's really hard to miss, right? It's not something that you wouldn't notice. And I'm sure the parents were very clear. Just the whole thing is like, what? And the whole story is sickening. I can't even, I just, it's infuriating. It's just absolutely infuriating that this man would use a position of power and authority like that to take advantage of anyone, but especially someone with intellectual disabilities is infuriating. So Stephen asked, do you think this pandemic is here to stay? I'm not worried about the virus, but I'm worried about the future of our country and economy. It's been proven that they are lying about the COVID-19 numbers. What is going on? Look, I've talked several times about we cannot make informed decisions about what to do as long as the numbers are not truthful. If they continue to give us inflated, twisted, convoluted numbers, we have no idea what we need to do to get back to normal, to protect the population, to do whatever is required. We can't do it with numbers that are not accurate. That's something that we're going to have to focus on as a country, especially our elected officials. Demand transparency. That's one reason why I do this every night. Is I am about as transparent as you can be, right? I'm trying to show you the type of person that I really, really am. I'd like to see more. I'd like to see more candidates do it, but I really think that until we get accurate, honest reporting from the media, from our government agencies, we cannot make a true informed decision on that. I agree. It's been proven that the numbers are inaccurate. It's been proven that there are political games being played, right, with the numbers. There are political games being played with the coverage of this. If you look, I don't have it right now, but there's 2 days ago on the it was like the 8th and the 10th, right? But it was two different press conferences. Might have been the 18th and the 20th. But there were the reporters, right, by the White House press corps for the press secretary's briefing. 2 days before, they weren't wearing masks. 2 days later, they are. Why? Yeah. Dave sums it up. A mask will protect you unless you're in jail. Then we have to set you free. Look, we have many cases of, especially the far left, that are just letting people out of jail, right? But Roger Stone has to stay. Roger Stone better stay in jail. He's a dangerous man. If masks work, right, if they do, and that's the other thing. You notice Fauci has completely reversed what he said just a little bit ago. What, last week? Anthony Fauci was like, "Oh no, masks don't. They're not going to stop it. It's not, it's not going to help enough. In many cases, you spread the virus by touching it, and blah blah blah." Now it's, oh no, you need the mask. Everybody has to wear masks, and it it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We desperately need someone who will just say enough, enough. We have people. Look, I saw a post. Man, I wish I had bookmarked it, because we have an economy that is on the verge of collapse. We have 1 in 4 people are unemployed now. It's heartbreaking. There are many people, many people that don't know if they're going to be able to go back to their job. They're talking like 40% of the jobs are not going to recover properly. I really hope that that's not the case. I really do. Hope that I will say this. And then I'll end this. Throw my little banner up there. If you want to, if you there's something that you think the show should be about, yeah. Look, we got just a few signs other than the polling place, which I'm gonna have to ask people to take their signs to the polling places, because we don't have enough anymore. Yeah, that's the other thing. The polling places, like, some of them aren't going to be open. I guess they're having trouble getting poll workers and whatnot. But anyway, so let me know if you want to sign. Some people I'm going to have to ask to bring their signs to the polling places. I'm really surprised. Speaking of signs, just real quick. Look, there's a candidate who, and we know McDermott's putting his signs all over the place. They hurt my eye. But yeah, they're everywhere. But there are other candidates whose signs, they ran around. You can tell they went from intersection to intersection to intersection and stuck them right by the road, right on the easements. You can't put your signs there, dude. Follow the law. Come on, man. And it's really frustrating for those of us who are doing our best to follow the law, the rules, because there are plenty of places that I could go and stick a bunch of signs, right? And my wife kept trying to talk me into doing it. She's like, just go put one there. There's a bunch of signs there. Go put one there. But anyway, yeah. Yeah, we stayed out of.
I want to fly a banner. I want to get a T-Rex costume and twirl.
Yeah, so she had an idea. Let me know with a thumbs up. She wants to get a T-Rex costume, right? She wants one anyway, but she'd get a T-Rex costume and do a spinning sign, right? But just stand there with the sign, right? But yeah, so Dave says repeal the Bayh-Dole Act. We need to do something, because there's just so much stuff going on. Steven says Roger Stone and General Flynn need to be pardoned and assigned to President Trump's team. General Flynn for sure. Roger Stone, his case was an absolute miscarriage of justice. But I think the best thing to do is let Rod. I agree he shouldn't be in prison, but I don't know if. I think that might be a time bomb if he. Steven says I applied to. Yeah, Dave said Liz for your chief of staff. So Steven says I applied to local 150 for the apprenticeship, and I feel like I was a waste because of COVID. Right. So that's the other thing. There are people that are being laid off left and right. There are people that don't know where their next paycheck is coming from. And we have people that were. I know someone personally that had gotten their life straight. They had a good job. They were on track to getting stuff to recognizing the American dream, right? And then this pandemic hits, and they get laid off, and unlike some people, their unemployment still hasn't come through, right? They're still fighting with the unemployment office. And I will say this, it's funny how our governor has time to make sure that testing stuff is happening and all this other stuff, but isn't assigning people, extra people, to clear up the backlog with, yeah, hire people that are unemployed to fix unemployment. Ugh. But there are people that are really, really, really struggling right now. And that's why, that's why I'm not having big fundraiser posts and, hey, donate to my campaign. And I know that's part of being in politics. You have to ask people for money, but it's so frustrating to me when I see these people begging for money, uh, knowing darn well that 1 in 4 people are unemployed. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, donate your time if you have it. Share my message with as many people as you can. Uh, your yard. I'll bring a sign. I'll put it in personally. I'll lose my shoe. It's all good. Uh, yeah, fix your grass. Absolutely. So, oh my goodness. Yeah, Stephen made a really good point. He said, I'm just happy Pritzker and Lightfoot aren't officials in our state. I can't stand them. Man, Lightfoot, don't get me started on her. But tomorrow night, the first Republican virtual debate, as far as I know, ever. But it's definitely for the first district. I'm really looking forward to this, guys. Yeah, Liz is going to be hosting a bunch of watch parties, getting them going on various devices and whatnot. 6:30 is when the pregame, the pre-event starts. We're going to make sure we get it out to as many people as possible, get as many people in it as possible. This is a big deal for them, the people hosting the party, the debate. It's a big deal for them. So share the word, let people know. The watch party will be on Dion for Congress page, just the same one that this goes on Liz's personal page. My personal page, more than likely, MX Cartoon. We're going to get as many going as we can and send them out because, yeah, LaPorte County, Lake County, and Porter County are all supposed to share and get people in it. So it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Look, in my opinion, this should be for many people the big deciding factor in who you're going to vote for first district. We need someone who can debate. That's just what it comes down to. And if someone does a clearly better job than I do, then maybe they should be it. But I'm pretty good at debates. So we'll see. We'll see. It is what it is, but I gotta go learn a lot of potential topics. It's bugging Liz because she's one of those people I've mentioned before that has to know everything. She has to have an idea. So yeah, everything's kind of up in the air, but countdown, right? Countdown to the primary. Tomorrow night, 7:00, 6:30 is when the stuff starts, and then they'll break down everything, do the candidate introductions, all of that. The debate itself is supposed to start at 7. So, yeah, Kelly, thank you. First time in a long time, we are guaranteed to have a fresh voice represent us. Absolutely, yeah, and that's really true too. Is no matter who you vote for on the Republican ticket, with a couple of exceptions. I think would make a good at least Republican candidate in the general. I just worry about whether or not some of these candidates are going to be able to pull the vote that we're going to need. That's all I'm going to say. So tomorrow night, God bless you. God bless the USA.
If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose. This has been Dion's Daily Dose, hosted by Dion Bergeron. Executive producers Sean Holgram and Michael Beebe. Copyright 2020. Dion's Daily Dose, all rights reserved.